First contact at Franklin High. The autumn wind whipped through the courtyard of Franklin High School as Vanessa Riley adjusted her oversized glasses, carefully observing the crowd of students rushing to their first period classes. At 16, she appeared unremarkable. Average height, dark hair always tied in a messy bun, and clothes that seemed deliberately chosen to avoid attention. But appearances, as she well knew, could be deceiving. Vanessa's attention fixed on Jackson Reed, the school's newest transfer student and rising track star. He moved with an almost perfect grace, each step precisely measured, each gesture carefully controlled. To most, it simply looked like the natural athleticism of a gifted teenager. But Vanessa saw what others missed: the slight lag in his reactions to sudden movements, the way his eyes reflected light at odd angles, the barely perceptible shimmer in the air around him when humidity levels rose. Her wrist communicator, disguised as a simple fitness tracker, vibrated with an incoming message from command. Energy signatures increasing. Confirm status. Vanessa tapped back a quick response while pretending to check her phone. 3 weeks of surveillance had yielded enough evidence. Jackson wasn't just unusually gifted. He wasn't human at all. The Galactic Defense Force had tracked similar patterns across 12 different high schools in the past month. Each time, a new student would arrive, displaying exceptional athletic abilities. Shortly after, students and faculty would begin exhibiting unusual behavioral changes. 2 schools had already been completely compromised before the GDF understood what was happening. Vanessa's mission was simple: prevent Franklin High from becoming the 13th. As one of the youngest operatives in the GDS history, she had something to prove. More importantly, she had a planet to protect. The first bell rang, and Vanessa made her way to advanced physics, the one class she shared with Jackson. She deliberately maintained a B average in every subject except this one, where her supposed enthusiasm for science gave her an excuse to ask questions and stay late in the lab. Today's lesson focused on electromagnetic fields, and Vanessa noticed how Jackson tensed slightly whenever the teacher mentioned wavelength frequencies. Halfway through the class, Rachel Thompson, the student body president, started acting strangely. Her normally fluid movements became rigid, mechanical. Her eyes glazed over for exactly 3 seconds before returning to normal. Vanessa's heart rate quickened. It was happening already. After class, Vanessa deliberately bumped into Jackson in the hallway, sending her books scattering across the floor. As they both knelt to gather them, she activated the scanner in her glasses, recording the subtle electromagnetic disturbances emanating from his skin. "I'm so sorry," she stammered, playing her role perfectly. "I'm such a klutz." Jackson smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. No harm done. His voice had an odd resonance, barely perceptible to human ears, but clear to Vanessa's enhanced auditory implants. Their hands touched briefly as he handed her the last book, and Vanessa suppressed a shiver. His skin temperature was exactly 95.2 degrees Fahrenheit, far too precise and consistent for a human being. Throughout the day, Vanessa documented more cases of strange behavior. The captain of the debate team repeated the same sentence 3 times during lunch. A freshman walked into a wall as if he couldn't see it. The school librarian shelved books in perfect alphabetical order, backward. During 6th period, Vanessa's communicator buzzed again. The message was urgent. Quantum fluctuations detected in sub-basement. School blueprints show no such level exists. Vanessa waited until after the final bell, pretending to study in the library until most students had left. She made her way to the maintenance stairs, using her scanner to detect energy signatures. The readings led her to an old janitor's closet, where the mop sink concealed a sophisticated holographic disguise. Just as she was about to investigate further, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Vanessa quickly pulled back, ducking behind a row of lockers. Jackson appeared, moving with that same unnatural grace. He placed his hand on the sink, and for a split second, his entire form flickered, revealing a glimpse of his true appearance. Tall, angular, with skin that seemed to absorb light, rather than reflected. The sink shimmered and disappeared, revealing the steep staircase descending into darkness. Jackson stepped through, and the hologram reformed behind him. Vanessa's heart pounded as she transmitted an emergency update to command. The situation was worse than they'd imagined. The aliens weren't just infiltrating the school, they were building something underneath it. As she waited for a response, the lights in the hallway suddenly dimmed. The temperature dropped several degrees, and Vanessa's enhanced senses detected a low-frequency hum emanating from below. Whatever the aliens were planning, it was already in motion. The communicator buzzed one final time. The message was just 2 words: engage protocol. Vanessa took a deep breath, removing her glasses and letting them dissolve into their component nanites. As they reformed into a sleek combat visor, she allowed herself a small smile. After 3 weeks of playing the invisible student, it was finally time to show Jackson and his kind exactly who they were dealing with. The game of pretense was over. The real mission was about to begin. The mask slits. The sub-basement air hung thick with an electric charge as Vanessa descended the hidden staircase. Her combat visor pierced the darkness, revealing walls lined with technology far beyond Earth's current capabilities. Pulsing circuits webbed across the surfaces like luminous veins, all flowing towards something deeper in the facility. The staircase opened into a vast chamber that shouldn't have been possible beneath a high school. Rows of cylindrical pods lined the walls, each containing what appeared to be sleeping students. Vanessa's scan revealed Rachel Thompson, the student body president, floating in the nearest pod, her vital signs stable but brainwave patterns drastically altered. Quite impressive, isn't it? Jackson's voice echoed through the chamber. He emerged from behind a control panel, his human disguise now completely abandoned. In his true form, he towered nearly 8 feet tall, his obsidian skin rippling with patterns of bioluminescence. Though I suppose I should call you by your real designation, Agent V-379. Vanessa straightened, dropping all pretense of the awkward student. And I should call you by yours, Nexus Operative 8. Her combat visor displayed a full tactical analysis of his physiology. Your kind has attempted this on 12 other worlds. It failed each time. Jackson, or rather, Operative 8, moved with liquid grace around the control panel. Ah, but Earth is different. Your species' adolescents are particularly susceptible to neural reconfiguration. Their minds are already in a state of flux. He gestured to the pods. These are merely prototypes. Once we perfect the process, we'll expand to every school in every major city. Imagine an entire generation transformed into perfect beings. Perfect slaves, you mean? Vanessa's fingers brushed against the neural disruptor concealed in her jacket. The GDF has studied your perfection. It burns out the host mind within months. A necessary sacrifice for evolution. Operative 8's eyes pulsed with cold light. I was hoping to collect more specimens before dealing with you, but I suppose we can accelerate the timeline. He raised his hand, and the air crackled with energy. Vanessa dove behind a cluster of pods as a bolt of plasma scorched the air where she had stood. Her combat training kicked in, muscle memory enhanced by years of specialized conditioning. She rolled, fired 3 bursts from her neural disruptor, and sprinted to new cover. The alien leader moved with impossible speed, dodging her shots. Your weapons are useless against me. I've adapted since our last encounter with the GDF. His form seemed to blur, splitting into multiple images. But I am curious, how did one so young become an operative? I'll tell you if you surrender, Vanessa quipped, simultaneously uploading the facility's layout to command. She needed to keep him talking while the scan completed. We could discuss it over coffee. I know a great cafe upstairs. A low chuckle resonated through the chamber. Your species' humor, even in dire situations. Another fascinating trait we'll have to modify. All of his images converged at once, sending a shockwave that knocked Vanessa off her feet. She hit the ground hard but converted the momentum into a backward roll, coming up with her secondary weapon. a quantum phase disruptor disguised as a simple hair clip. Modify this. The blast caught Operative 8 off guard, temporarily destabilizing his molecular structure. The alien leader staggered, his form flickering between states. Impossible. That technology is beyond your level. We've learned a few tricks. Vanessa pressed her advantage, launching a series of rapid-fire bursts. Each shot forced him further back, away from the control panel. The GDF doesn't just defend. We adapt. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. The pods began to pulse with an ominous red light, and the students inside stirred restlessly. Operative 8's expression shifted from confidence to concern. "What did you do?" he demanded. "What did you do?" he demanded. Vanessa allowed herself a small smile. "Uploaded a virus while you were monologuing. The pods are starting their emergency shutdown sequence." She tapped her communicator. "And GDF reinforcements will be here in approximately 3 minutes. The alien leader's face contorted with rage. His skin rippled with waves of energy as he prepared for a devastating attack. "Then I'll have to complete the process now." He slammed his hand onto the control panel. The pods erupted with blinding light. Rachel and the other students began convulsing, their neural patterns spiking dangerously. Vanessa's visor flashed urgent warnings. The virus hadn't stopped the transformation process, only corrupted it. "If I can't have them as soldiers," Operative 8 snarled, "they'll serve as a demonstration instead." Vanessa faced an impossible choice: pursue the alien leader or save the students. The pods were becoming unstable, their containment fields fluctuating wildly. Her visor calculated a 94% chance of catastrophic failure within 60 seconds. Without hesitation, she turned her quantum disruptor on the pod's power core. "Sorry, but Earth kids are off the menu." The blast shattered the core's containment field, initiating an emergency release sequence. The pods hissed open one by one, their occupants slumping to the floor unconscious but alive. Operative 8 used the chaos to escape through a hidden portal, his final words echoing through the chamber. "This isn't over, Agent. The transformation cannot be stopped." As GDF ships descended on Franklin High, Vanessa knelt beside Rachel, checking her vital signs. The student would recover, with no memory of her time in the pod. None of them would remember, and that was for the best. But Vanessa remembered. She remembered everything, including Operative 8's escape. He was right about one thing: this wasn't over. The aliens had revealed only a fraction of their plan, and somewhere in Franklin High, more of them were waiting, watching, preparing for the next phase. Her communicator buzzed with an incoming transmission from Command. "Agent V-379. Status report." Vanessa looked at the unconscious students, the alien technology, and the hidden facility that had nearly become humanity's downfall. "Phase 1 complete," she responded. "But sir, we're going to need a bigger team." Underground network. Thunder rumbled overhead as Vanessa walked into Dr. Catherine Wells' physics lab at 7:30 a.m., a full hour before classes started. The veteran science teacher stood at her whiteboard, but she wasn't writing equations. Instead, a complex web of red strings connected dozens of newspaper clippings and photographs. "I was wondering when you'd finally come to see me," Dr. Wells said without turning around. 3 weeks of surveillance must have shown you I'm not one of them." Vanessa froze, her hand instinctively moving toward her concealed weapons. "How long have you known?" The teacher turned, revealing an old scar that traced from her temple to her jaw. "Since the day you arrived. I've been tracking anomalies in this school for the past 5 years. But you're the first GDF agent I've seen who could pass for a teenager." "Your intel division," Vanessa realized, noticing the subtle neural port behind Dr. Wells' ear, identical to the ones used by GDF field analysts. "Why didn't Command tell me?" "Because officially, I retired 3 years ago." Dr. Wells pulled down a star chart marked with red circles. "But when students started disappearing for exactly 48 hours and returning with no memories, I knew I couldn't stay retired." Vanessa studied the wall of evidence, The pods we found were just the beginning. Operative 8 had larger facilities somewhere else. These disappearances, they were test runs. Exactly. Dr. Wells pressed a hidden switch, and a holographic map materialized above her desk. I've tracked energy signatures identical to the sub-basements across the city. They're building a network, using the school system as cover. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Both women tensed as a low hum vibrated through the walls. Vanessa's visor detected massive power fluctuations throughout the building. "They're starting Phase 2, Dr. Wells whispered, her face pale. Earlier than predicted. The morning announcements crackled to life, but instead of the usual school news, a high-pitched tone filled the air. Students in the hallway stopped moving, their eyes glazing over. Vanessa's neural shields activated automatically, protecting her from the signal. Dr. Wells winced but remained conscious, her old GDF implants still functioning. Mass neural synchronization, the teacher explained, pulling up readings on her hidden console. They're trying to link every mind in the school into a single network. Through the classroom windows, Vanessa watched in horror as students and teachers moved in perfect unison, all walking toward the gymnasium. "We need to shut down that signal. The source is moving." Dr. Wells' fingers flew over her controls. Multiple signatures. They're not just in the school anymore. The entire district is activating. Vanessa's communicator buzzed with an emergency alert. Similar reports were coming in from schools across the city. The aliens weren't just building a network. They were activating it all at once. "Command's jamming systems will be online in 20 minutes, Vanessa said, checking her tactical display. "We need to hold them off until then." "We don't have 20 minutes. Dr. Wells pulled up security footage of the gymnasium. Hundreds of students stood in concentric circles around what appeared to be a crystalline structure that pulsed with otherworldly light. They're building something in there, some kind of biological quantum computer, using human minds as processors. Vanessa recognized the design from her GDF training. It's a dimensional anchor. Once it's fully powered, they can open a portal large enough to bring their entire invasion force through. A new figure entered the gymnasium, Principal Richardson, but his movements were wrong, too fluid, too precise. His form flickered, revealing another of the aliens beneath the human disguise. Operative 3, Dr. Wells breathed. "He's been here the whole time, hiding in plain sight. I should have seen it." Vanessa loaded a fresh charge into her quantum disruptor. "We can blame ourselves later. Right now, we need to get to that gym and destroy the anchor before it fully activates." "The halls are filled with mind-controlled students," Dr. Wells reminded her. "We can't hurt them. They're innocent victims. Then we go under." Vanessa moved to the classroom's supply closet, pressing her hand against the back wall. Her enhanced strength easily pushed aside the false panel, revealing another hidden passage. "The aliens aren't the only ones who've been building tunnels." Dr. Wells smiled grimly, pulling a sleek weapon from beneath her desk. "I didn't spend 5 years of retirement just birdwatching." She checked the charge on her neural pulse rifle. The maintenance tunnels connect to every building on campus. As they descended into the darkness, Vanessa's tactical display outlined their route to the gymnasium. They had less than 15 minutes before the dimensional anchor reached critical mass. "Dr. Wells," Vanessa said as they moved through the narrow tunnel, "if we survive this, I have so many questions about your retirement projects." "When this is over, I'll show you the real physics lab," the teacher replied. "The one with the quantum containment field and the alien artifact collection." Above them, the synchronized footsteps of hundreds of students echoed through the ceiling. The dimensional anchor's power grew stronger with each passing second, its frequency reaching deep into the earth. Vanessa checked her weapons one last time. The real battle for Franklin High was about to begin. And this time, she wasn't fighting alone. The tunnel ahead split into 3 paths, each leading to a different part of the gymnasium. Vanessa's visor highlighted the strongest energy readings coming from the center route. Ready to crash their party. Dr. Wells asked, her neural rifle humming to life. Vanessa activated her full combat systems, her ordinary school clothes dissolving into advanced battle armor. Let's show them why you don't mess with Earth's education system. The countdown begins. The dimensional anchor's pulse grew stronger as Vanessa and Dr. Wells emerged through a maintenance panel beneath the gymnasium bleachers. The crystalline structure now towered 20 feet high, its surface writhing with patterns of light that hurt to look at directly. Around it, hundreds of students stood in perfect formation, their combined neural energy feeding the alien device. 7 minutes until critical mass, Dr. Wells whispered, checking her readings. Once that happens, not even Command's jammers will be able to stop it. Principal Richardson, or rather, Operative 3, stood at the base of the anchor, his hands moving across a holographic control panel. His human disguise had completely fallen away, revealing a form similar to Operative 8's, but marked with intricate patterns that suggested a higher rank. The quantum harmonics are all wrong, Dr. Wells noted, analyzing the energy patterns. They're not just opening a portal, they're trying to terraform the entire region, starting with the school district. Vanessa's visor confirmed the analysis. The anchor wasn't just a doorway, it was a transformation engine. Once activated, it would rewrite the very fabric of reality within its radius, turning Earth into something more suitable for alien biology. If we destroy the anchor, what happens to the students connected to it? Vanessa asked, watching the blank-faced teenagers sway in their hypnotic dance. A sudden disconnection could fry their neural pathways. Dr. Wells replied grimly, "We need to sever the link gradually, give their minds time to recover." A new figure emerged from the shadows near the anchor. Operative 8, his obsidian form now adorned with battle armor that pulsed with the same light as the crystal. "The transition has begun," he announced, his voice resonating through the gymnasium. "Soon, this primitive learning center will become the nexus of our new world." Vanessa activated her tactical overlay, marking potential weak points in the anchor structure. We need a distraction, something to disrupt their concentration without hurting the students. Dr. Wells pulled a small device from her pocket, a prototype she'd been working on in her secret lab. The anchor uses quantum entanglement to maintain the neural network. If we can introduce enough chaos into the system, they'll have to release the students to maintain stability. Vanessa finished. "Do it." The teacher pressed a sequence of buttons on her device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the anchor's light patterns began to fluctuate, its perfect symmetry disrupting as quantum irregularities cascaded through its structure. Operative 3's head snapped up, his alien features contorting in alarm. Interference detected. Stabilize the matrix. The students' synchronized movements faltered. Some began to shake, their expressions flickering between blank compliance and confusion. Others stumbled, the alien control weakening. Now, Vanessa burst from cover, her quantum disruptor firing precise shots at the anchor's support nodes. Dr. Wells provided covering fire, her neural rifle forcing the alien operatives away from their control panels. Insolent creatures. Operative 8 snarled, his form splitting into multiple images again. "You cannot stop evolution." "Watch us," Vanessa replied, rolling under a blast of alien energy. She reached the first support node and planted a quantum charge, then sprinted toward the second. Her visor counted down. 5 minutes until critical mass. Dr. Wells had worked her way to the gymnasium's control booth, using the elevated position to target the anchor's upper segments. "The student links are weakening. Keep pushing." But the aliens had prepared for resistance. The floor beneath Vanessa's feet suddenly liquefied, transforming into a writhing mass of metallic tendrils. She jumped, using her enhanced strength to vault over the trap, but more of the gymnasium was changing, reality itself bending to the aliens' will. "The terraform process has begun," Operative 3 announced with cold satisfaction. "Your efforts are futile. This world will be remade." The air grew thick with an alien atmosphere, making it difficult to breathe. Students began collapsing as their bodies rejected the changing environment. Vanessa's armor compensated, but Dr. Wells was struggling, her old implants not designed for this level of reality distortion. 3 minutes. Dr. Wells called out, her voice strained. The anchor's reaching critical alignment. Vanessa reached the second node, but Operative 8 was waiting. His battle armor had fully integrated with the anchor's energy, making him nearly invincible. "I offered your species perfection," he said, his form towering over her. "Instead, you choose extinction." "We choose freedom," Vanessa replied, activating her armor's final protocol. Energy surged through her systems as emergency power rerouted to her weapons, and were pretty good at surviving extinction-level events. She fired everything she had: quantum disruptors, neural pulses, and experimental weapons that Dr. Wells had secretly supplied. The combined blast caught Operative 8 off guard, shorting out his armor's defenses and sending him crashing into the anchor's base. The crystal structure shuddered, its light patterns spinning wildly. Operative 3 rushed to stabilize it, but Dr. Wells was ready. Her neural rifle fired a concentrated burst that shattered his control panel, severing his connection to the anchor. 1 minute, Dr. Wells shouted. "Vanessa, the final node." The young agent sprinted through the chaos, her armor failing as reality continued to warp around her. Students were beginning to wake up, screaming in confusion as they witnessed their school transforming into an alien landscape. Operative 8 rose from the wreckage, his true form now fully revealed. "If we fall, we take them with us." He slammed his fist into the anchor's surface, initiating an overload sequence. The crystal began to pulse with blinding intensity. Reality itself seemed to crack, showing glimpses of an alien dimension beyond. Vanessa reached the final node, but her weapons were drained. "Only one way to end this," she muttered, pulling out her last resort, a quantum core taken from her armor's power source. The unstable energy would destroy the anchor, but the blast radius. "Get them out," she yelled to Dr. Wells, who was already herding students toward the exits. "I'll handle the anchor." 30 seconds remained as Vanessa faced the heart of the alien device. Sometimes, she reflected, the best solutions were also the simplest. She threw the quantum core directly into the anchor's crystalline matrix and ran. Dawn of truth. The quantum core detonation ripped through space-time like a thunderclap, sending shockwaves of pure energy across Franklin High's campus. Vanessa's damaged armor barely protected her as she was thrown clear of the gymnasium, landing hard on the football field. Above, the sky rippled with aftershocks as reality reasserted itself. Through blurred vision, she watched the dimensional anchor collapse in on itself, taking most of the gymnasium with it. The alien atmosphere dissipated, replaced by clean morning air. Students lay scattered across the grounds, slowly regaining consciousness, their neural links to the anchor permanently severed. Agent V-379. Dr. Wells' voice crackled through her failing communicator. "Status report." Vanessa tried to stand, but her armor had locked up, its systems fried by the quantum blast. "Still alive," she managed. "The anchor? Completely destroyed. No residual energy signatures." There was a pause, but we got incoming. The air hummed with the arrival of GDF ships, their stealth systems dropping as they descended on the school. Emergency teams rushed out, attending to the confused and injured students, but Vanessa's attention was fixed on the smoking ruins of the gymnasium, where 2 figures emerged from the wreckage. Operatives 3 and 8 had survived, their alien forms now fully visible to everyone. They stood amid the destruction, no longer bothering with disguises. "You've ruined years of preparation," Operative 8 snarled, his voice carrying across the field. "But you've also given us something far more valuable." He gestured to the stunned students staring at their true forms. "Exposure." Vanessa's heart sank as she saw foams coming out, recording the aliens. Social media would be flooded within minutes. The carefully maintained secret of extraterrestrial life was about to shatter. That was your real plan, she realized. The anchor, the neural network, they were ambitious, but you knew we might stop them. This was about forcing humanity to confront your existence. Precisely. Operative 3's patterns pulsed with satisfaction. Your species can no longer hide in comfortable ignorance. Change is coming, whether you're ready or not. GDF troops surrounded the aliens, weapons raised, but it was too late. More ships appeared in the sky, not GDF vessels, but alien craft dropping their cloaking fields. They had been waiting, watching, preparing for this moment. Dr. Wells reached Vanessa, helping her out of the locked armor. Command is reporting similar situations worldwide. Hidden facilities activating, aliens revealing themselves at schools, government buildings, research centers. Then we've lost, Vanessa whispered. No, Dr. Wells smiled, showing Vanessa her tablet. We've evolved. On the screen, social media was exploding not with panic, but with determination. Students were sharing their experiences, organizing, connecting dots that had been there all along. The alien presence had been hiding in plain sight for years, and humanity had suspected something all along. Your species surprises us yet again, Operative 8 admitted, watching the human response unfold. We expected fear, chaos. Instead, you get us. Vanessa stood straight, addressing not just the aliens but the watching students. Humanity isn't perfect. We're messy, complicated, and sometimes scary. But we're also adaptable, resilient, and really good at dealing with the impossible. More GDF ships arrived, along with news helicopters and government vehicles. The morning sun rose over a world forever changed, but not in the way the aliens had planned. This isn't an invasion anymore, Vanessa continued. It's first contact, and humanity gets to choose how we respond. The students of Franklin High, those who had been controlled, who had seen reality itself twist around them, began to stand. They moved to Vanessa's side, not in the perfect synchronization of alien control, but with the chaotic, beautiful independence of human choice. Operative 8's form shifted, his battle stance relaxing slightly. Perhaps there is more to learn about your species than we realized. Oh, you have no idea, Dr. Wells chuckled. I've been teaching high school physics for 20 years. Trust me, humans will surprise you every time. In the distance, sirens wailed as the wider world raced to catch up with the new reality. Phones kept recording, social media kept buzzing, and the truth kept spreading. The secret was out, but so was humanity's response, not with fear or submission, but with determination and curiosity. Vanessa looked at the gathered students, the alien ships, and the rising sun. Her mission had changed, but her purpose remained the same. Earth still needed protection, but now it also needed bridges, understanding, and people who could walk between two worlds. So, she asked the aliens, ready for your first real lesson about Earth? The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The story of Franklin High School was no longer just about stopping an invasion. It had become something far more important. The first chapter in humanity's next great adventure. Dr. Wells put a hand on Vanessa's shoulder. You know, I think I might delay retirement a bit longer. Sounds like Earth schools are about to get a lot more interesting. Vanessa smiled. I think I might need to adjust my class schedule too. Something tells me interspecies relations is about to become a required course. Above them, the morning sky filled with the lights of two civilizations meeting in the open for the first time. It wasn't the end the aliens had planned, nor the victory the GDF had expected. It was something new, something uniquely human, a future built not on conquest or submission, but on the endless possibility of change. The bell rang one final time at Franklin High, signaling not just the start of a new school day, but the dawn of a new era for Earth and all who called it home. The end.